All right, so I will just say I made a mistake. I guess I forgot to schedule out your guys' assignments last night because I was sending out emails and, just chatting with some parents. So I apologize for that wasn't posted at 7 a.m. I'm really, really sorry. um, so I went and did that right now before we're starting here. So I am really sorry on that. It is all posted now. I'm just, when we're done here, I'm going to just double check and make sure everything's there too. But I do want to apologize for that was posted late. Before we start, I just want to kind of present my screen and go through a few things from when I was grading like life journal entries, from when I was grading the conferring slides. So I hope those of you who I select, you're okay with it because, well, it's going to be what it's going to be. So a ton of people are making mistakes. All right. So before I get into that, I did post an extra challenge activity. These things in here are optional, guys. So whenever something is posted in that topic, you do not have to do it. It is optional. Okay? Use some common sense here. There is an image, and if you open up the material, you can open up the image, but this is like a Pictionary country version. So you have to try and figure out as many as you can and put it in this class comment section below. And pretty much what it is there are Pictionary like pictures, and you have to try and figure out what each one is, and you can see there's a number. So you would put like number 1 is this, number 2 I think is this. So like here I would say number 8 is New Zealand, because it sounds like new seal hand. So I got to say it fast to figure out, oh, that's New Zealand. Okay. Number 7, Taiwan. So that's that country. Do you see how that kind of works? So that's optional, and you would just put like your guesses down here and just kind of have some fun with it. Some other things that I want to mention is with your silent reading conferring entries. Okay. I'm trying to think here. I don't know. So we had it or not. A lot of people did not follow directions. With silent reading, on the direction slide, it will say that I will give you some sort of, like, each time you complete an entry, I will respond back and give you a task to complete, okay, to push your thinking. That is what your next entry should focus on, along with a summary. And that is in the directions, guys. Okay, sometimes I will give you a task, or sometimes I'm going to give you a prompt. Okay, here, like on Monday, I have a prompt. So here it says silent read. You're going to fill out your Google form, and then you're going to do your conferring entry on what is happening in your book. So catching me up to speed and answering the prompt. So today you're choosing a character from your book, and you have to try and explain why you think they're acting the way that they're acting, like what's going on. Try and make a character inference and explain your thinking. Then you're going to turn it in, mark it as done, and then you should be good to go. So please make sure that you are doing that. The other thing that I want you to make sure you're doing is, if you are doing a video, that you are sharing the video with me right away when you put it in your drive. So that way I can access it right away. Okay. So here for Zoe, the first day she gave me like a summary, and then I gave her a task. Now, Zoe could have answered the task in this reply section, or she could have gone to when she does her next entry and include it here. Okay, so a lot of people did not answer the task question to push their thinking, and that's where you're going to fall behind with your reading abilities and skills that we worked hard on this year. The other thing I'm going to say is, please do not delete my comments. That is how I remember what it is that I'm trying to push you on specifically, and what task I asked you to complete. So do not delete my comments or mark them as resolved. Okay? All right. And life journal entries, I have to say, Miss Doyle's class, you did a much better job. Miss Readinger's group, kind of disappointing. I probably had less than 10 people turn in their life journal or have something completed from Monday. So you need to make sure you're doing that because I am taking a writing score on it based on your conventions and length. So do you have a meaty paragraph, and are you using capital letters and end marks? So those are like the three big things I'm looking for. And if you can't do that, that's kind of not good. So life journal entry, silent reading and conferring entry. You do have a vocab test today, and read aloud. So that's it. All right. I hope that makes sense. If you do have any questions, please let me know on that. But I'm going to move my cereal that I didn't finish because I panicked with not having our stuff posted. So, all right. So last time we left off, we're going to move on to read aloud. Last time we left off, we had chapter 25. And in chapter 25, they had run into, what was his name? They ran into a rebel army whose leader was called Khalid. And Khalid had this journalist with him called Amen, something along those lines. And he's a journalist from the United States trying to report the truth as to what's truly happening in Syria, not what the Syrian government is lying about. So they ran into those people, and then they're trying to move on to their way. And we also found out that Basel had lied about his grandfather being in the rebel forces, and that he actually died too. So it was really sad to find out. And we left off with her having a memory stirring in her mind from the previous year on a cool September night. So let's see what that memory is. So we've got September 28th, 2012. Nadia and her parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins clustered along the balcony of Nana's apartment, watching in horrified silence as black clouds billowed up from the east across the river. So it must be some bombs, I'm assuming. News quickly made its way through the neighborhood, and Jad brought the latest as he came panting through the balcony doors. Remember, Jad is her brother. The old city was burning. It was less than 4.5 miles away, and they could see the fires illuminating the sky, eating everything in its path like a plague of locusts. Ya Allah, Nadia's mother whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. I can't believe it, Kalalina growled. They are destroying the very heart of Haleb, erasing 5,000 years of history and culture. Nadia's father stood stony-faced. Father cannot see this, he muttered. He will not be able to beat seeing his childhood home like this. Nadia's mother squeezed his hand. Don't worry, he's in his room. Your mother is with him. The rebels are holding strong against the army, said Jad, cheeks flushed. They're both destroying the city, grumbled Kalalina. A sick feeling spread through Nadia's middle as she leaned over the railing of the balcony, her small hands held up against the brilliance of the flames. She'd been to the old city countless times, especially when visitors wanted to tour its rich medieval sites. A highlight of the day always included shopping at its famous souk. Sprawling for miles in all directions, the souk was a network of bazaars, which was the largest covered market in the world. So it must be a ton of shops. It spanned 7 glorious miles and had over 6,000 shops. Each souk specialized in something unique. Souk al-Hiraj was noted for its rugs and carpets. Souk Khan al-Jumrah sold textiles, and Khan al-Sunay was a fascinating labyrinth crammed with art, ceramics, and handicrafts. Ladies flocked to Souk as Sirah Siraj to purchase gold jewelry and gems, while blacksmiths labored over elaborate metalworks in Sak al-Haddadin. Haddad, Haddad, Haddadin. Sorry, it's very difficult for me. At all its burning, centuries of history and culture had turned into ash. As Nadia stared at the glowing flames, a cold, dreadful certainty blossomed in her heart. She glanced at her father's beloved face. Under her eyelashes, etched upon his features, was the terrible knowledge that the world as they knew it had changed and there was no going back. So the soot from when she ended the last chapter, she ran her hands along something in the old city and it came back with that gritty black soot that made her flash back to that memory of when the old city that she's in right now has started burning to the ground. But now we're back to current time, so chapter 27, October 11th, 2013, 5:32 p.m. At the next turn, the winding path deposited them at a wide intersection, and Nadia realized where they were. In the very soul of Aleppo, its ancient souk. Nadia pulled out the compass, which pointed north through the souk. As Amo Mason sat up, a sheen of perspiration had covered his ashen face. "Are you all right, Uncle?" she asked. Remember, uncle here does not mean that it's her uncle. It means that she he's an elder that she respects. "Just tired, my child," he said with a weary smile. "I'll feel much better once we leave the old city." "Which way should we go?" she asked, showing him the compass. "We'll cut through the south here," said Amo Mason, pointing to the arched doorway. "Then we'll curve around the Catadel to the Bab al-Hadid gate." Nadia nodded, staring stony-faced at the charred remains of the shops facing the street. She guided Jamila through one of the main arched doorways that led inside the south. A sorrowful emptiness ebbed throughout the covered passageways, stone walls cracked and crumbled from mortar shells and grenades. Remember, South is like the gathering of a grouping of a ton of market shops. They merged onto one of the main arteries that ran through the bazaar, lit by skylights embedded in the vaulted ceiling, revealing the extent of the destruction. Nothing more of the Souk's rich glory remained, except for hints of its past, strewn on the floor, turquoise shards of pottery, a muddied rug, and torn wisps of bright silk. Corrugated iron sheets, pockmarked with bullet holes, sealed off sections of the souk, and majority of shops and stalls had been destroyed, shriveled husks of what they had been. But what overwhelmed her most was the silence. It burned like acid through her soul. Her breath caught in her throat. "It's all gone," she thought. "Why?" she croaked, fist clenched. "Why does Allah hate us?" Tarek stared at her, horrified. "Nadia," Amo Mason said, voice soft, "Allah does not hate us." Remember, Allah is their God, or what they call their God. He does not hate anyone. "Then why is this happening to us?" She waved her arms in the destruction around them. "True believers," said Tarek, shooting her a pained look, "know that this world is a temporary one. Every day, Allah tests us with trials and tribulations, small or big, weighing our good and bad deeds." "Well said, Tarek." Amo Mason smiled. "We have been given free will to make choices on how we live our lives and how we use the blessings given to us. Only by choosing good over bad will we reach the final permanent place," said Tarek. That's heaven, right? Whispered Basel, eyes hopeful. Tarek patted him on the back with a smile. Nadia, my child, said Amomazin, muffling his coughs. Despite Allah's magnificence and majesty, the two qualities most attributed to him are compassion and mercy. And just because those around us are not merciful or compassionate, we should not turn away from following his example. And we have been promised that with every hardship, there is ease, and with the most difficult trials, added Tarek. Nadia frowned, thinking of their words. It's in our hands, my dear, said Amomazin, always in our hands. To choose mercy and compassion, or to be lost in the sea of inhumanity. Not feeling particularly merciful, Nadia grudgingly nodded. She guided Jamila through the central passage where dozens of alleys snaked off, leading to different areas of the south. What shops and stalls fire had not destroyed were shuttered and boarded up. As the passage curved, Jamila hesitated, ears tucked back. Tarek had fallen behind to inspect an alley that branched off to the left, but he suddenly turned, a frown marring his brow. What is it? Whispered Basal, rifle raised. It's okay, girl, Nadia whispered to the donkey. Something is spooking her, she thought, gently rubbing Jamila's neck and looking around for a hint of what it could possibly be. Tarek held his hand up as something stirred in the silence. The skitter of pebbles among a passage to the right. We should hurry, he whispered, eyes wide. Come on, girl, said Nadia, gritting her teeth as she tugged on Jamila's reins. Mazin's eyes flickered open. Is everything all right? Yes, nothing to worry about, said Tarek, as he and Basel hurried to the front of the cart to help Nadia. While the boys tried to coax the donkey forward, Nadia untied Mishmish, who sat growling, ears flat against his head. She pried his claws from the tarp and shoved him into his burlap bag. She had just slipped him under a blanket beside Amo when they heard gunshots. We have to go now, muttered Tarek, voice tight. Which way? Gasped Basal as the sound of gunshots grew closer. The alley Tarek had been inspecting was half filled with rubble, making it difficult for the cart to get through. The next one, said Nadia, pushing the cart from behind to nudge the donkey forward. Basal spoke coaxingly to Jamila, but the donkey wouldn't budge. Don't be stubborn now, grumbled Tarek as he ran to the front of the cart and pulled. Mazin's eyes widened. Jamila, my dear, please listen to the children, he said, reaching out to shake without a shaky hand to rub her back. She turned to the old man and nuzzled his hand, then turned to go, just as a bullet whistled by, embedding itself into the wall. Okay, they're under attack. And Jamila the donkey almost got hit by a bullet. And it's very interesting that Jamila the donkey would listen to the old man like that. She must be pretty smart. Nadia fell to the ground with a gasp, barely avoiding another shot. It missed Amomazin by an inch, but grazed Jamila's rump. Braying in pain, she took off down the main passageway, dragging Tarek and Basel along with her as they held onto her harness. Nadia lay there, frozen, as the thud of boots thundered from the lane to her right. Move, you silly girl, yelled a voice inside her head that sounded like Miss Darwish. Do you want to get killed? Am I crazy, or was that the sound of a donkey? Gruffled a youthful voice from around the corner, sending Nadia crawling on her hands and knees. Forget that for now, barked the authoritative voice. The footsteps thundered to a halt in the main passageway as Nadia slipped into the mouth of the first alley. Secure the location. And you, Abu Amir, take a dozen men and head to the citadel to join the others, but be careful for those snipers. There's Those bleep snipers. Without thinking twice, Nadia rose and scurried up the corridor, scrabbling over rubble, wincing as a slab of concrete scraped her shin. I have to find the others, she thought, heart hammering in her chest. At the next intersection, she paused, mentally creating a map, trying to evaluate where this alley would connect to the one the others had taken. She strained her ears for the sound of Jamila's muffled hooves, but instead, staccato footsteps rang up the path she'd taken. They found me. Up ahead, she spotted a battered shop, empty except for a few boxes and remnants of ribbons and buttons glittering the ground. Before she could dive in, a voice hissed behind her. Nadia, where are you? Her steps faltered at the familiar voice, and she turned around. A round face, pale with fear, appeared in the murky light. Basel! Nadia cried with relief. Okay, word. Amazed at how he'd slipped past the rebels and had found her. He smiled through his lips. He smiled, though his lips were strained. I couldn't leave you. Tarek was taking care of Amo, so I came. Nadia pulled him in for a hug. We have to go, he wheezed, voice muffled in her coat. There are rebels crawling through the south. But now we're both lost, she said. Amo Mason told me to meet up at the northeast gate, he said. The Bab al-Hadid gate. They fled, racing through the crisscross alleys of the south, the floor littered with fragments of cord, rope, and torn fabric. Near the exit, an arched stone gate. They slowed, a familiar noise resonating from outside. Rain. Remember, rain helps muffle footsteps and noises, so that's a good thing. Look, Basel whispered, pointing past the line of sooty sheets. A grove of palm trees grew along the edge of the pedestrian walkway that ran along the base of the massive hilltop. According to tradition, this was where Prophet Abraham once herded his sheep. Nearly 200 feet high, its pale limestone slope pock-marketed with mortar and bomb blasts, the hill carried the citadel as its crown, the multi-storied facade embedded with windows etched with white and black stone. Now a red, white, and black Syrian flag flew from the ramparts, evidence of government occupation. Amo Mason's words rang in her head. The citadel is under Syrian army control. Snipers posted along the top. So it sounds like she has to be super careful so they don't get sniped. That's a word. Sniped, I think it is. Basel tugged on her arm, pointing left towards Carlton Citadel Hotel. She glimpsed a group of men in fatigues sheltering behind a line of burned-out cars. Heavy machine guns and rocket launchers lay stacked beside them. Are they rebels? Nadia whispered. Basel shrugged. Not sure, but whoever they are, they're about to have a fight with someone. Nadia tensed. They needed to get out of there before they were caught in the middle of a battle. Fingering the silver pin, she racked her brain, staring at the open expanse of the walkway. She inched forward to get a better view of the gray light. If it's hard for me to see, they probably can't see much either. With a grim smile, she unhooked a sooty sheet hanging from the length of a rope. I wonder what she's going to do with the sheet. Like, is she going to try and use it as cover? I don't know. So I'm kind of curious about that. But, couple of things. I want you guys to kind of start thinking about when we finish this book at some point this month, because we only got this much left. We're going to do an activity of trying to figure out what the theme is. So I want you to kind of start thinking about, what do you think the author wants you to learn about or take away from this book? or like what's the lesson learned in the story. So like with this chapter, they talk about faith in their God and how Nadia constantly is questioning it, and thinking that she's being punished. So that's one thing you can kind of have in the back of your mind. But as we keep reading, try and think about what is a theme that's covered in this book, okay? Because we'll do an activity at the end. Other than that, I'm trying to think. I feel like there was one other thing I was going to say. Don't remember. I'm sorry. All right. I do have office hours at 10. If you want to join, we're going to play Kahoot and Quizlet. If you want to study before your tests that you take today, your test, I tried making it easy. It is all multiple choice. You should, I hopefully have it set up to where you can get your to get your score back right away. And then trying to think. Other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic Friday. Yes, Aiden, we will do it the anonymous fun names where you get to choose as long as they're appropriate. But so I hope that you guys have a great day. We'll play the games during office hours. But otherwise, it is a pretty chill day. So make sure that you are getting all your work done. And if you had any late work, that you're getting that caught up for me as well. Okay. So if anyone has any questions, I will take them now.